Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about how to really know that you are talking to a loved one. So, my name is Courtney Dillon. I'm a medium and I'm intuitive, and I'm here to assist you in opening up to your own intuitive gifts. Let's get into it. So, I've noticed a lot with my clients and students that one of the main things I hear over and over is I really would like to talk to my loved one, my dad, my uncle, whoever, right, who's crossed over. But I say, I talk to them, I talk to them all the time, but I never feel them. I never feel like I'm getting anything back. Okay. So if this is you, this is what I want you to do next time you talk. The first thing I want you to do is I want you, before you start talking, is to ask yourself the question right now, am I allowing myself enough time to receive the answer? Okay. Now, this might sound extremely basic and simple, but a lot of times what I notice kind of standing in the way is that we are not allowing ourselves to receive the answer. Like you might be, talking and talking and talking and talking, but there's not a pause. Okay. So I want you to imagine the next time you sit down to have a conversation with a loved one who's crossed over. I want you to imagine that it's like having a phone conversation without the phone, right? But instead of a phone conversation, we are receiving telepathic communication, that we are receiving telepathic thoughts so that we're sending out communication. Okay. It's being received by our loved one. We can use it for a guide. We can use it to talk to an angel. And then we are receiving an answer back. Okay. Of some sort. Where the communication gets lost often, okay, one is that often people do not understand or realize that this is a send and receive, and that we must take a moment and pause and notice how we receive the information and what how how we receive the information and what we're receiving. So one of my teachers, she, you know, says to take the pop of information. And I've always found that to be really helpful. So it's like if I'm working in a session with someone, I'm talking to a loved one, I send out the communication, I receive some type of answer back. And without filtering, without second guessing, and this is what I'm leading to next, you notice what comes in. So you could notice a sentence, a word, picture. Okay. It's one type of communication that a loved one will send you. Okay. So often it'll feel like you might receive an image. You might receive a literal image from a memory you've had with this being, or you might receive an image that feels more symbolic. Okay. And before you go to interpret what is being shown to you or what you're receiving, I want you just to practice this week noticing what comes in, and noticing if you are actually taking time to understand how you're receiving and taking time to actually receive. And even though that may sound, really simple, so often we are talking, talking, and talking, but not actually waiting to receive. So I want you to think of it like this. If you are having a phone conversation with someone, okay, and you call up a friend and you're talking to that friend, we know at this point that you're not going to just talk for 30 minutes without letting the other person talk, right? It's going to be a conversation. You are going to say something and then wait for a response. Say something, wait for a response. The ability you have to receive the response is based on a few things. One, it's waiting for the response. Two, it's noticing the information quickly as it comes in. And three, not second guessing yourself. So, non-physical communication will always feel in some way like you made it up. And that's at first a little bit hard to get used to for people, right? And so at the beginning of this, right now I'm sitting in a room, I'm looking at a table, I'm looking at, a cup, right? I'm looking at things around me, and because of the senses that I'm used to operating with, feel more real and more tangible than when I'm working with senses that are non-physical, right? I'm working with my spiritual gifts. So it will always feel a little bit at the beginning like you made it up. After a while, you will learn to trust yourself, okay? But it's important to remember that if you feel like I'm just making this up, this sounds like it's in my voice, this sounds like, it's a picture, but I can't quite make sense of it. Like some of these things that we run into as roadblocks, it's important that you work through that roadblock and begin to notice the flow of information. Okay. And so I would really encourage you, if you have a loved one who you desire to communicate crossed over, I would really encourage you to just take some time, imagine it in a really, really simple way. You can imagine, for example, that you're sitting at a table, that you go to sit at a table and that your loved one will join you. Take a few moments before you do this and imagine that your mind is becoming really quiet and steady. And then imagine that you are opening up a conversation, that you are talking to your loved one, and it can be simply saying, I love you, or you can ask a question or some advice or some guidance for your life, whatever it is that you want to talk about. But take the time, imagine sitting at this table and notice, if you are pausing to receive the information. And after you do that, take a moment to actually notice what comes in. Okay. And without second guessing yourself, even if you can't make sense of it right away. So I'd like you to practice this week and comment below what you received. My goal in these videos over the coming weeks and months is to really help people tune in and remember that they can communicate with the non-physical realms, that we are in fact multidimensional beings, and that we are not alone, and that we can really build a community here of people who are remembering their gifts and stepping forward in their power. So if you want to learn more, there's a free class in the link below where I teach all about how to recognize signs and symbols. You don't have to have any experience. If you have a lot of experience, there should be something in there that you can learn. And I hope you like it. Okay, talk to you soon.